doing a quick little how we got our equipment, got our bees. It was a special request by a friend online, and I did some watching of videos before we even started to get serious about getting into the bee stuff. There's a lot of good online teaching options. Because we're in Arkansas, I went to the University of Arkansas. They have a 19 or so video series that did a really excellent job of explaining the beginning of beekeeping all the way through to nowadays, and things to look for, critters that can hurt your bees. Just a really good, I need to go back and watch them again, video. I was also told that the University of Florida has excellent videos online, and just all kinds of people online that show what they do with bees. Some of them are very knowledgeable, some of them are like us and have a lot to learn still, but even watching as someone else learns is a good learning experience. We got started when we first moved out here. The gentleman we bought our property from had wanted to get into bees, and he had purchased a starter kit on Amazon. It was just one box and a box full of equipment to actually take care of them, all of the hive equipment that you need and everything. And he gave us that because he wanted to get into keeping bees, but he really didn't have the time, and he was excited that we were excited about getting bees. So that was our first step. After I watched the videos online and learned a little bit more, I contacted the University of Arkansas extension for that kind of stuff, and they gave me a contact for a local person in our area, and they have a monthly bee meeting. They meet every first Monday of the month, and we immediately joined up with them, and I think that was May of last year. So we kind of got started a little late. We would have done better probably last year if we had gotten started a little bit earlier. But right away, we met some really awesome mentors, and that's just so important to have. It really is, if it's something you can find in your area and get a good group to help mentor you. But we went to their house, they helped us build stuff, and we thought right away we had a swarm. They were swarm catchers. A lot of folks around here are. But it disappeared before we were able to get it. And then we had another swarm that someone had caught, and there were issues with that swarm. The way they were handled when they were caught, they ended up dying the next day. So that was really sad. We had a swarm and then went out there the next day and everything was dead. And then we assisted. I have an older video on YouTube. We assisted in going and removing some bees from an apartment building, and that was really, really fun. But the bees did not want to stay, and sometimes, no matter what you do, you cannot get bees to stay if they don't want to stay. So they swarmed, we caught them, we put them back in the box, they left again, and never to be seen. So that was our first year. We went every month to the meetings and tried to learn as much as we possibly could. And then this year, at the beginning of the season, when bees started swarming, we were kind of ready. We still just had a couple of boxes, and I highly, highly recommend getting your stuff ready in advance. It's really important to get them ready in advance, especially if you're going to try to get swarms, because when somebody catches a swarm, you have to be ready to receive them immediately. So all three of our hives are from swarms. They're actually from out on the farm where my husband works, And a couple of the bees that the people that he works for, they purchased hives, and they overwintered really well, surprisingly, because we're still learning and didn't do much for them over the winter, but they made it. And one of the hives, the very first one that we caught, the big box that has an extra super on it, was a wild swarm as far as we're aware. It did not swarm near where the hives were at, where the other bees swarmed. It swarmed off away from all of that. So we're pretty sure that one's an actual wild hive or a swarm from somebody else. But it's a really healthy hive. They are just going crazy in there. It's the heat of summer, and they're getting a lot of afternoon, evening sun. That's why they're all over the front of the box, trying to keep things cool in there. And the next two hives were from the actual hives at work swarming. So we've ended up with 3 beehives this year, and they're all doing pretty well. The last one on the end there, it was a very, very small swarm. So you don't see a lot of bees coming and going in that box. They've got a lot of work to do, and we're probably going to have to feed them over the winter. We're hoping the other 2 will be able to get enough food to feed themselves over the winter, but we're prepared to feed them if we have to. We've got the stuff to build another box for this one here, but we have not put it together yet. And as far as that goes, getting supplies, like I said, the first box we ever got came from Amazon. It was a starter kit, and some of our stuff has come from our mentor. They've taught us how to build a lot of stuff ourselves, which is really cool. And then some of the stuff is stuff that we've purchased separately. Finding local suppliers is really nice. A really excellent resource is online purchasing. My husband's doing a lot of purchasing from Man Lake. I believe that's MANNLAKE, Man Lake. And they have tons of options and really good pricing. So unless you're in a super hurry to get supplies, like we were with our third box, and bought more expensive stuff at the local hardware store that just started carrying bee supplies, I definitely recommend trying to purchase your stuff online. But if you can find a local mentor, that would be really the first step. They have a lot of local knowledge, and they can point you in the right direction. They can help you put your stuff together. Most beekeepers really want to encourage more beekeepers, and they want people to learn. And they will tell you, if you go into a room with 100 beekeepers and ask a question, you're going to get 200 different answers, probably, because most of the time they can't even agree with themselves. And what works for one doesn't work for another, and location plays a lot into it too. You can have a beekeeper that has bees in multiple locations, and they try something with their hives in one location and it works great, and you go to another location and it doesn't work so well. So it's different for every hive, every location. Getting local is definitely a biggie. And you can purchase bees. I didn't want to. The first year we didn't have the money to do that, and really wanted local, healthy bees. So wanted to catch swarms versus buying them. But buying is definitely an option. A lot of people do it. It's a huge industry, but it just really wasn't the way we were interested in going. So we've been very blessed this year to have received 3 swarms. And oh, you know what? I was wrong. I just realized that middle swarm came from our mentor. We did not get all of the swarms from the farm where my husband works. That middle box is from our mentor. And he was super excited because he's pretty sure that it's from one of his hives that swarmed. And he said he really wanted us to have some of his bees. So that was really cool. But yeah, get into your local people, find a mentor, get your stuff in advance, start buying it now. If you're really interested in bees, it's not a cheap hobby, and you may find yourself with a lot more than you expected all of a sudden. So maybe buy a little bit of supplies monthly if you can, and that way when you're ready to start, then you have what you need and you don't have to spend a bunch of money all at once. But early spring, when they start swarming, is a good time to get the bees, and that gives them a lot of time to prepare their homes for the winter. The first year, you're typically not going to get any honey from them because they are building their homes, and that takes a lot of resources and a lot of time. But once they get that first baseline set, then typically in your second year, if they overwinter well and everybody does good, that second year is when you're going to start seeing return and getting your honey. So really excited to see how these guys do this year and overwinter, and hopefully start getting some honey early next year. But join a local club, get your supplies well in advance. You can purchase them from Amazon, Man Lake, find a local supplier, and maybe your local bee club might do swarm catching like our local bee club does, and maybe you have to buy your bees, but there's usually a lot of resources online for that as well. So I hope that covered it all fairly well. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Thank you guys. Have a blessed day.